Thank you for joining our training session for IP PBX. I'm James Zhu. Today I will cover a few topics here. First one, we will introduce our IP PBX UC series product and some user case. After that, I will introduce some the topology for how to use the UC or IP PBX. And the third thing is before we start the configure our PBX or servers, we have to know a few things and make everything is done, then start our configuration. The step 4, I will introduce some steps to in detail for the configure the GUI and the 1x1. And third, 5, I will add some more extra material for example, like customer want to add the external VoIP gateway to support more FXO, FXS, or maybe E1. After that, maybe we'll discuss some issues you may face. For example, like configure our PBX, maybe got some problems or caller ID problem and so on. And lastly, I think as normal, we will provide some FAQ session. If you have a question, you can leave the question here. Let's start. DINSTAR IPBX solution, we offer the kind of the models. The first model is UC120. Here is we can see the picture here. We support one LTE slot and one FXN and one FXO. And inside, I think the PBX can support the 16 SIP extensions. So which means that you can register 66 extensions, and we can support up to 15 concurrent calls. Of course, we also offer the the Wi-Fi features, and here we can offer for example the call recording, voicemail, IVR, and so on. Sometimes we can use our UC 120 to connect to each other's. For example, we can connect each other and offer the IPBX features. Sometimes maybe you can use the PBX connect to your branch office in different location, maybe the remote area or some temporary office and so on. The second model is the UC 200. Of course, it's more powerful than the previous one, and this one can support the 2 FXO and 2 FXS with one LAN and one port. Here we can support like 500 extension and 30 concurrent calls. Besides that, we also support the call recording and voicemail, even the VPN. For example, you use the VPN connect to the branch office and so on, and also support the remote management. If you have maybe the fax machine in your office, you can support the fax machine by plugging to the FSS port. And maybe you need the video call. We also can support video call, but this video call is only the point-to-point, not the video conference. Okay. The third one is UC 315. Here, this one is I think the more powerful than before one. And this one for the larger price or maybe the service provider, maybe you met it. And it's also support the LCD. I think it's a very nice feature, very clear to see the system data and so on. And also support the gigabyte, the Ethernet port. Here we can use this model can support up to 4 E1 or T1 ports. Of course, you can support the 32 FXS or FXO. It can plug in, plug out, depends on how many slot, how many the user board you want to buy. And of course, this one also support the dual power supply here. This can be the redundant solution. If one power supply fail, another power supply will take over. And also support the voicemail, voice record, and VPN. Maybe for large maybe the company, you can up to support to 1000 SIP extension is more powerful. Of course, can support the 200 concurrent core here. This one is more powerful than before, also same thing. And the difference is customizable IP PBX. And UC, we name it UC 1500. This is the open hardware platform and support the x86 architecture. And you can select any kind of the CPU, depend what you want to achieve, and more CPU power on resource. We also support open API, which means that we can support like if you need the CRM or other support, you can integrate by the open API interface. Of course, our system also support your own PBX, which means that beside our DINSTAR PBX, you can also your own PBX, for example, like 3CX, other Vita PBX, or maybe open source PBX, and so on, and install it, and you can utilize our E1 FXO FAS, make incoming call, outgoing call, or maybe connect to the PSTN. Another advantage is we offer the high availability here, because if you use the large PBX, you must make sure you have HA support. And here we support in terms of the power supply. We mentioned about already, this is redundant power supply. If one power failed, then maybe other power will take over. And we also support the redundant MCU, is dual support, so it's very stable. And also, in our system inside, we can support flexible, call routing, because in our system, we by configure the call routing, maybe the gateway, you can call forward to or FXO, or maybe E1, or maybe SIP or IMS. It's many options here. And of course, we also support the PSTN fallback. If the PSTN done already, you can maybe switch to SIP or IMS and so on. And because this one is derivable module by module, so you can take out or plug in more modules. Depends. For example, you want to maybe more E1, more FXO, more FXS. But sometimes you need a GSM or LTE. You can also just add the module and so on. So this model can support many applications, and maybe you can implement in many industry. Here, the mining industry, or some utility, or maybe the public security, or healthcare, or even the education, or government, or banking, or finance system, and so on. And this one is I think this is more powerful than the previous one. I think the basic feature is the same as the last one, but we add more. Here we add more, FXS, FXO, or maybe more E1 already. So you can see the size is bigger than the previous one. We can see the port already here. And the same thing, this one also can implement a different industry or different network. So depend your how many users or what the feature you want to achieve. Sorry. Okay, here is a table for the comparison for different models. Here we can see that we support only one LAN and one LAN. Wi-Fi and extension is very different already. Here we can see the concurrent core also different, and the mobile channel or same channel or LT channel is optional. So you can consult our sales if you want to buy the GSM or LT slot. And here we can see the FXS, because how many numbers you can check here from here. And the storage, you can see we can spot the SD card. I think this is a maximum support. And the USB driver, if you use the USB, maybe the flash driver, you want to install your voicemail, that's other data you have to use the SD or USB. Here is very typical topology in the VoIP environment. Basically, here we got the, for example, here we use the UC 120 as example here. And if you want to make a outgoing call, incoming call from PSTN, you have to install and connect to our PSTN port with the PSTN cable. After then, we use maybe the SIP extension. You register to the extension to our system. Here is our SIP extension for DINSTAR, maybe DINSTAR IP phone. And if you want to more maybe FXS, or one maybe want to take advantage of the traditional FXS phones, you also can make a connection to by the SIP trunk and connect to FSS gateway here. So maybe your SIP phone can make outgoing call from here to PSTN and the mobile user or any users. From outside people also can call in by the PSTN line and go through our PBX and forward to SIP extension or some FXS extension here. So it's quite simple. Okay, here's we provide some user case. For example, if our partner for maybe the distributor or integrator, you can focus for maybe different area. Maybe you can focus healthcare or for hospital or enterprise or company, maybe the communication telephone system and so on. Maybe you can focus on finance or insurance company, offer the service for them, and be maybe long form. Some long form maybe need the phone system to to contact our customers and make call record and so on. Sometimes we offer the some PBX or phone system for the community service. Some communities still need the phone system to make the connection with maybe the some people, and sometimes in the education, maybe university or college, you have phone system to connect the different block, different faculty and so on. And chances are you may have maybe the headquarter branch, then you have to connect each other and make a call to check the order and so on. So it's a very complex solution, and you can implement our system with the gateway and the PBX to anywhere. Let's say here we just saw the demonstrate the healthcare. For example, if you maybe in the small hospital, maybe here we can see maybe the telecom provider, they offer you the E1 or T1. So connect our PBX. Here we have a different faculty or function here. Sorry, function here. For example, you have a registration area. You want to check the patients and so on, and maybe the management, admin staff and so on. Here maybe also got the ICU, and here also got some rooms. You want to check or make a call, maybe the other doctors or other staff. You still have to use the IP phone or SIP phones, so you can make a call, make incoming call, outgoing call through our PBX and go outside. So it's a very stable solution for E1. This is a very typical solution for enterprise. For example, some company, I think in our office, I think most of the staff have to use the company phone to make incoming call, outgoing call. Even we want to sell something, outside to the customers. Customer also have to call you back to get maybe support or some consultants here. For example, you can use our PBX maybe with GSM or LTE slot, then make incoming call, outgoing call. Maybe you can use the SIP or IMS. Some country use the SIP, some country use IMS, but everything is okay. We can integrate and connect our PBX. We support all the features here. And if customers sometimes, you need the PSTN for the stability, we also offer the E1 or T1, maybe FXO. You can connect to our E1, T1 port. Here inside our PBX, we offer some, I think the very popular feature here, the IVRs, queues, call group, or call record. I think most of the company need the IVR, for example, press 1 forward, press 2 forward, and so on. Maybe you need the call queue to let the people, make incoming call and consult the particular, the agent and so on. Sometimes, if you have a sales group or sales department, maybe technical department, customer make incoming call and forward to your call group. Here is the internal extension, the different extension, different format. Here we can set up our extension with our DINSTAR IP phone. And if you have a fax machine, you also can connect our PBX for fax or eFax. And here, if you have any traditional FX physical phones, you also can plug into our FXS port here. So we can build the very perfect solution for enterprise. Most of the banking and I think the insurance company must have to offer the technical the consultant service or support service here, because with the incoming on the customer, customer have to check with your company, maybe with the banking or insurance, check a balance, check account information, and check other insurance record and so on. So here we can maybe, I think the most of people have to use the E1 or T1 is quite stable, and connect our PBX. Maybe with our PBX, you can use Open API to integrate your CRM and maybe the third-party CRM system and so on. So you can once call coming, you can pop up to the agent. And with agent, maybe the screen, we can see the customer information and so on. Then give the consultant or give the help. This is very common in banking or insurance company. This long form, I think the same as before, but sometimes, I think most of the time, the long form the lawyer have to make a call and with recording, for the some stuffs. So here, you still can use even FLS, then integrate CRM or SIP, and lawyer can pick up the call, or maybe go to the reception, then after consult, then transfer your lawyer office or some rooms. So maybe you have to record your phone call and so on. I think most of the community have to offer some emergency call or call service for hotlines. Here is the same thing, but community maybe offer more like some living support, some support to consult the community volunteers or some help and so on. So it's the same thing. And then if outside people, community members make incoming call and call to a particular agent or reception, and give the answer and so on. Maybe give some advice and so on. Our PBX, DINSTAR PBX also can implement in the many of the the campus or university. Here is quite typical, the diagram, so that we can implement PBX in maybe the data center and put the E1 or T1. Then we can connect to our different blocks here. Admin, maybe the admin block and the faculty or residential hall and so on. So maybe in some library or some public place also need to set up the phone system. So we can see here, we use the IP phone that can make a call. Even the each other can also, conduct a call here. If residential can call the maybe admin staff to consult something. It's very simple and very easy to implement in the university or campus. So let's see which next one. Sometimes we always see a lot of the retail store phone system. Retail store also need to implement maybe small PBX and put the very basic core features, but have to check, have to your store A, store B have to make a connection maybe in different place. So maybe you just set the one in the headquarter maybe, and the store A put the phone extension one. Maybe you put the fax or phone here, and store B we just connect the system by VPN. That's all. We can cover maybe the whole place maybe. Maybe the one country can implement one PBX can cover all the store already. Just now I discuss a lot of the user case. Maybe our distributor or integrator can consider one maybe. Now we will talk about some technical things. Before we start, we have to know, because if you set up the PBX, a lot of things need to do. So it is better to, before you start up your system and make sure everything is work properly, then you have to check a few things. So here we can see here, you have to check once you get the device or gateway or our cell phone, sorry, you have to check how many the ports you have, and maybe if you have a cell phone, you have to check the phones, make sure it's physically is ready, and you know what the port connect to which one, which cell phone, and how to get IP and so on. Then make sure your FXO is ready. Here, sometimes customer just buy the device, but sometimes your FXO is not ready. I mean, it's not ready. It's not just the cable ready. It's for example, you have to check your service, check your service with your service provider. For example, the phone number is ready, and make sure your balance is sufficient. Otherwise, you cannot make call. Okay. So you also have to check your network is ready. Make sure your network connection is very well, and of course you also have to check your cable, because sometimes customer want to connect to our FXO or E1, you have to check the cable, because sometimes for larger, for example, larger maybe the FXO ports, we have to use the cable splitter. For example, then you have to make a cable, so then transfer from RG45 to RG11, and you have to, maybe if you have E1 or T1 connect to our gateway or our UC or PBX, you have to check your cable, make sure your cable is right. Okay. So if want to use the SIP maybe from remote site and not in office, you also have to check, make sure your SIP information, for example, the username, password, and the port and so on is correct. Of course, most important thing, you always refer our menu first, check menu first, because sometimes, you know, since we offer many models, sometimes we update the menu, sometimes we you know, you get the menu maybe somewhere something is different from the real things, so you have to check. I suggest you, you know, you have to always check our menu first and check your ports and so on. So after that, you make sure your physically that everything is okay. So you have to also must confirm some, you know, some points. You have to know if you use the FXO trunk, you have to make sure your FXO PSTN connection is ready. And sometimes if you use the E1, maybe you have to use your E1 port. You have to use which one is connect to our system, and make sure your physically is connected, and our PI is always up and active. Some up active means that your physical connection is ready, your signaling is ready. So you have to check from gateway or maybe from our GUI. If you use the SIP extension to make incoming call, outgoing call, you also have to check your SIP extension registered and is ready. Make sure it's not a failure state. If you fail, you cannot make call. Okay. Last thing is the call routing. You always have to know your call direction, or if you have an incoming call, outgoing call, you want to, what's the destination, what's your source, so you have to check this. Okay. After that, here is a few steps. I think the 5 step or 6 step depends. I mean your complexity or your how many features you want to set. Here, just to give the simple example here. Just let the user know the key points. Make sure is you check maybe with your GUI. Okay, make sure the key point is done properly. Of course, if you want to configure our PBX or our UC, you know, you have to know the IP. By default, you have to check your IP and make sure your IP is can be accessible, and you can use your browser can access the system. So use the write the IP and connect our system and access the GUI first. After then, you can have to end the SIP extension. Here we can see that the highlight part here is an extension. You go to extension and the extension and the password and so on. And third, after end the extension, you can check maybe the SIP phone. If you use the DINSTAR SIP phone, we will automatically scan your model and end the phone automatically. But you also can manually end the phone. And after that, you have to end your trunk. And trunk means that you have to, if you use to call outside or inside, you have to go through the trunk. So here we can offer 2 kind of trunk. One is a SIP trunk. Another one is FXO trunk. SIP trunk, you connect to SIP trunk by the maybe remote side is a service provider or IMS provider, or maybe you connect to our gateway here. FXO trunk, sorry. By default, our UC 120 offered one FXO port already, so just the end FXO port. You don't do anything. So it's quite simple. The last step, this is step 5. Here you can go to the system if you want to end IVR, and after that you can go to the call control and go to the call routing. You can select the incoming call and select outgoing call. That's all. So it's all the process for the setup the very basic call system. Sometimes, you know, for example, just now I said before, if you need the, for example, you need more FXO or E1 or FXS, you also can end our VoIP gateway by trunk. So it's very simple, very easy to make the connection work. Here is the make call. If you want to make call here, I just highlight some main point here. Maybe later if you have we have any time, we can conduct another session to let you know how to configure it. But then never mind, I will give you the documentation here. First of all, you have to check your gateway, make sure your port to use how many port or E1 port used. The second, you have to check or create a SIP trunk, make the direct connection between the our gateway and UC. And beside the gateway, you also need to check the IP PBX. So you have to check your call routing and make sure your incoming call, outgoing call is correct and work properly. Now, before we start some issues, I will demonstrate and show you some GUI and let you know how to configure our PBX. Okay. Wait. Now, let's say we have an example here. I will show you something here. I will see I will check here. We can see. Go to extension. Here we create 2 extensions already. It's on already. This indicate is registered already. So we use different tool account to make a testing 100 and 111. And after that, we use the SIP trunk. Here is FXO trunk already. Okay, because by default we support the 1 FXO already. After that, you have to go to call control. Here we create the incoming call and outgoing call. Here we can see that the incoming call is from FXO, which means from outside to call in, then forward to any extension. Outgoing call is the same thing, so it's opposite. Here you can see the FXO coming, then forward to 100 as extension. Here is the outgoing calls, any numbers inside the system, any numbers can make outgoing call, but go to the FXO. So it's opposite. You have to know that. I will here is an incoming call setting. Okay. Please make sure that our DINSTAR system, phone system or UC PBX, we don't have very clear or very definite the indication for incoming call, outgoing call. But here we got the other name is called source and the destination. So it's the same thing, but it's quite flexible, but also quite confused. So please make sure you have to check and make sure your direction is correct. here in incoming call, it means the source, because here source is FXO. Because the call is coming from FXO, so we have to choose the FXO trunk here. Please make sure you have choose FXO. And destination, it means from the FXO call to any destination. Here we choose the extension 100 already. So it means once the call coming from FXO, we will forward to FXO. Of course, you can add more destinations and more features here. Just for the simplicity, we demonstrate this for testing only. Okay. Here we got the extension already. Sorry, we have to log in. You see here our extension is registered already, and this is our IP PBX IP. This is a port, so make sure everything is okay. And this is other phone is registered already. So this one done, you can make a call. Let's see. I make incoming call for testing purpose. I think it should be work. I use my phone to make incoming call. I think the one of the phone will ring. You see? The phone ring already. Here we after make incoming call, we can see I think you can check here from our CDR. As you can see that the caller is my phone number, my mobile number. Go to the FXO trunk and forward to extension. Because here no answer, I don't pick up the phone yet. So you can see the call for and the data here. We can see the signaling, it ring, then after that, and then invite and forward to other IP and can pick up the call. Here we can see the FXO trunk. We can see this is my number and ring and CID and so on. Here we can see the extension. If you want to debug, you can see all extension and the codecs and so on. So it's very useful features for the debugging purpose. Okay. Here is our extension. We can see that here is registered already by the UDP port, and the model, different model here, the DINSTAR 66 and 62 and so on. So this is very convenient, very easy to configure for our PBX and make a call. After that, actually we conduct some, the documentation here. If customer want to got more detail or very particular topic, we can see here. And we also set up how to set our, voicemail. We conduct a lot of the documentation here. How to configure the voicemail. And some notice here you want to use, you can check it by URL. And you want to set the ring group, you also can follow our documentation here. It's quite simple. Then just a select, then by the GUI and so on. Of course, just now I show you if you want to get more, FX or FXS, you can follow this documentation and make sure everything is right. Make sure your gateway is correct and point to right direction. So we will later add more documentation for particular features and so on. Make sure you have to check one by one. If you need more, we may be you ask me, maybe we can end it later. So this is the process and the setup for particular the user case. For example, if you use voicemail, you also check this one. And so the configuration part is done already. Sometimes, although maybe sometimes, the user very skillful and very familiar with our system, but still maybe face some issues here. For example, if you want to make a call to extensions or forward to voicemail, because sometimes it's just not a simple just config voicemail. You have to check your system. Like for example, 120, you have to check your voicemail. But here, if you use voicemail, you have to follow our documentation here, because some device like you have to know make sure your storage is okay and is sufficient. So you have to check your hard disk driver or USB flash and so on. And then if you want to, for example, reduce the runtime, the runtime is too long, then you can set up by our GUI. After then, you go to you have to check, since if you want to use voicemail, you have to enable your mail server and fill in your mail server, and make sure your DNS is done, and make sure your voicemail can be saved as maybe saved into right location. Of course, you have to enable your extension to make sure your voicemail account is open already. So here, if you want to use voicemail, you can check here. For example, here. Okay, you have to enable the voicemail. By default, it is off, so you have to enable it. And if you want to use your after then your email will be forwarded to your email account, you have to fill in your email account, and of course you have to also need to set up your email server and so on. So it's for voicemail. Okay. And sometimes customer making incoming call, your system played IVR, and let the system maybe forward to a different department by enter different DTMF key. Sometimes the DTM fail, so you also have to check here. And because say a lot of the DTM model here, so you have to check, make sure your DTMF is correct, and match the remote side or match PBX. So everything you have to check here, the DTMF. If you will remote side or PBX or a SIP phone support other model, you have to set different model here, so on. And set bitrate tone detection or failure bitrate tone detection. Sometimes some user just make a call, after then your maybe FXO cannot help with bitrate status. So it means your FXO do not detect your bitrate tone properly, and maybe some tone cannot detect by different countries. So you have to configure your system, make sure the tone or bitrate tone or help tone is match your location or match your country. Okay. So you have to check I think you have to check your FXO, FXS if you want to, if you make incoming call or going call by FXO here. You can see here. Here for example, I just use the FXS. Here you can set a tone group, different tone. Here we support a different countries, so you have to check and select your tone here, and For example, if you want to check the BJ tone here, a lot of tone here. So here we select China, you maybe in US, in Egypt, in Germany, and so on, and Italy or Japan and Korea and so on. So you have to check here and make sure you set your tone properly. And also here, just now the BJ tone. So you have to check, make sure you maybe adjust some value, then can make it work correctly. No caller ID. Sometimes, you know, the customer make incoming calls, and in our system or some SIP phone cannot show the caller ID, so lost the caller ID. So how to do that? I think the most of the time is due to the wrong configuration or and so on. So here you still can check here and make sure your caller ID detection is set, and you have to enable your caller ID detection. Here we can see that before ringing or after ringing, so different style. So you select different models, see what will happen here. Maybe after, you know, set up the different value after testing your system work already. Okay. Wrong profile for SIP extension setting here. I think sometimes we may face this issue here. For example, we can see here we choose one default by default. Make sure you have correct profile. If you set the wrong profile, your SIP cannot be registered. So it's always sometimes, you know, fail the registration and so on. So you have to make sure everything you check properly and make sure right profile. Sometimes, you know, when we make a call, you know, the SIP phone registered already, and everything is look okay, but then when you make a call, the call ring already, you cannot hear each other. Sometimes, you know, if you open the debug information, you will see that maybe the codec issue or compatibility issue and so on. So it's very common in some place, because sometimes, you know, we use a different the different SIP, you know, SIP file. So you have to check, make sure your codec is correct and set properly. Here we can see here. You have always check here. You can see the codec. Sometimes you don't you mismatch the codec, so you will be not able to make a call. You have to check everything is correct. Besides the PBX, you also can have to check. You know, maybe you go to our GUI, you know, the phone, maybe login phone. You check your codecs enabled. Here we can see here, we disable some, you know, some format. You also can enable the format. For example, here, of course, you can set the priority and set the order here. You make sure this one is up and in top priority. So this one is you can set down, down, and so on. So you always have to check the both sides, make sure everything is okay and codecs are supported. Then you can make a call. It should be okay. Lastly, I think it's quite confusing for the call routing policy here, because sometimes the customer, you know, make a call just maybe some configuration wrong, you cannot make call. So because our UC, there is no There's no incoming call, outgoing call, and the title here. So sometimes you're very confused. We have to check, make sure your direction is correct. Okay, don't be confused. Otherwise, you cannot check. You cannot know the which one to which one. Always check the source and the destination. Of course, you can manipulate or just set the others before then forward to destination. But make sure you always check your source. Source means call incoming. The destination is call forward to anywhere, or maybe still call to outside the people, outside the trunk, and so on. So it's quite flexible. Please make sure everything's set correctly and don't be confused. Of course, you can, detect or make a judgment or check your call number, prefix, and so on. Here also you can customize your phone number here. If a certain number here already, if I just allow the maybe certain two numbers are make outgoing call and disable this one, or maybe just allow the 100 can make outgoing call only, so you can save it. So it's quite flexible, and please make sure everything is set properly and don't be confused. And you can set any or local or trunk still, because this one is call routing is not like very detailed, very specified the routing solution. So it's here is quite confused and quite flexible, also very powerful, I think. So maybe you, for example, your destination failed. You also can set the failover and failover. I think in some condition you can set, for example, the destination is busy, so what to do, and the destination maybe in timeout. So what do you want to do? And maybe destination is unavailable, or maybe unavailable, which means maybe unregistered. So how to do that? So you can add more detail and the other process. So it's quite powerful. So please make sure you know what you know. Okay, don't be confused. Otherwise, you're always confused and maybe set the wrong direction. Okay. Any question? So it's a FAQ question session. Any question, you can leave the message. We will, our technical staff will be maybe give him the email back and very soon. And if you have any maybe very specific scenario you want to let us to give the support, we also would like to do that. And it's possible connect DINSTAR PS with microchip. We are in the roadmap already. Maybe very soon we will come out a solution. Okay. So any questions, you can leave the message here with our staff, our partner, and maybe our colleague will give you the answer by email or by other method. Yes, we support audio conference, but only the three-way conference only, because since the 120 is very limited resource, so cannot support more features. So only the three-way conference only. Any other question? If you have any questions, you can leave here. We will try to answer and give you the what is our panel or software display image. Yes, here we can see the stator here actually. Yes. You can check the here. If you want to check the SIP, you can see here. If you want to check the PSTN, you will I will demonstrate the FXO, FXS. For example, here we just call FXO. See what FXO will be changed. Let me see. If I make incoming call, I think the FXO will be changed. We have to note here. So it's ring already. You see, the stator is flash already, change already, which means ring already. Hello. After hang up, you see the stator is off already, on hook, hang up already. So it's quite flexible and very easy to check your stator here. If you want to use the check some concurrent calls or current calls, we also use this can be done. Let's say we call the extension each other. Hello, hello, hello. You see here, we are make a call, then 111. Here is so already, so it's very convenient to check concurrent call. Okay. So very detailed, a lot of detail here. Of course, if you set up the call queue, you also can see the call queue here. So very easy to monitor the system. Hang up. Yeah, hang up. The call will disappear. Call disappear already. Okay. It's always same or old version. Yes, most of the features the same, but here we see here. Let me explain something here. Due to the here we can see here, due to the some limited storage resource, maybe for example like UC 120 because it's small size, the PBX. Not very powerful, so sometimes the voice file or some call recording cannot be done, and not so powerful. So it's a little bit different, but most of the models or features are same. Most of the feature here, we can see the more detail is the just now we don't mention about the integration and so on. So it's all support our system. Here we can see the more detail also. Almost features same. PBX feature is the same, but it's different is from maybe the port and maybe storage and the CPU and so on. Our phone system also can support the third-party SIP phones, maybe the soft phone and so on. You can support it, no problem. So your user can also use the, for example, like here I will introduce some phone here. Here we can see C phone. Here we can see the C phone also. We also can use the C phone. You see, you can use the extension by C phone also, no problem. We test already. It's quite easy to use, and you could make incoming call, outgoing call by PC or by other soft phone. You can add your extension here, no problem. So any question here? Any question maybe from our GUI? I will maybe give you more detail. You see the voicemail setting here. If you have any, external storage, you can use the SD card or USB flash driver. Just plug in to USB port and will be automatically saved. So this is the API. So you can enable the API and the password username to control the security. This is the ring group. Here we can add the ring group and the call queue. For Europe, I think should be no problem. We also got the support by our team. We can support the Europe to change the design for GUI interface. So far we don't change yet. So here is by default, they automatically detect the FXO already, so you don't end anything new. Here, for example, if you want to change your voice not very clear, or you have to check here, check the volume. Here's volume. You want to check if the voice is not very good, then you check the volume and so on. So it's quite flexible. Here, if you got the BG tone problem, you can start the BG tone learning. The system will start and learn the BG tone automatically to match your system. Okay, it's very smart and very easy to configure it. If you want to set maybe a different time and make a call, for example, holiday call, weekend call, or maybe forward to any other external phone or external, no mobile numbers, you can set here from Monday to Sunday and so on. So it's also quite flexible. You want to end the SIP trunk, you can end the SIP trunk here, and here's the address and port and so on. So we need then you can support the VoIP gateway or maybe other SIP trunk. This is the firewall. You can set firewall here. You can set a rule here. You can block the IP, block the port, and so on. So it's quite easy to configure it. Sometimes you don't have if you have any problems, you have to go to the debug menus to check the maybe use the our tools to pin the maybe the IP and so on. Here we also got the debug tool. For example, if you have any issues, any problem with FXO, FXS, you can maybe you guess you said maybe think maybe your FXO FS got problem, so you can open the detect the debug tools to check your problem. So it's quite easy and quite convenient for the technical support. Of course, if you have want to see some system logs, you can configure the system log with different block, for example, different levels here. You can check operation logs. It's very straightforward, and can see if you have any errors, you can see in here. Okay. The service log here, you can export your log. It's VPN. You can set VPN and make sure everything is done. VPN server, client, and different client here. You also can see the performance. We check and then how about your maybe CPU and so on, IO or system users. Make sure your system is under work environment. Make sure it's healthy. If you want to set, for example, sometimes you want to set the DNS, you also can check here and set different DNS, maybe IP and so on. And some access control. If you want to change your HTTP port for device, you can change here. Of course, you want to enable maybe just allow the WAN port can access. You can set it, maybe set a different port for HTTPS, or maybe you want to open the SSH, want to disable SSH. You also can set up here. So it's very easy and very straightforward. Yes, our training can be recorded, and later maybe we can share the URL. You can download or you can watch again. You have many questions, or maybe other requirement or other need. We can maybe give you next time. We conduct another session. Sometimes you have to, maybe you can set up for example, call control here. You can set the voice, set a tone, set routing. It's quite flexible, and you also can change the fix models and so on. Of course, you also can change the SDP parameter here. If you want the DAO plan, you can create the DAO plan, and also can make incoming call and outgoing call by DAO plan itself. Sometimes you want to use the field to ban. You also can end the, blacklist or whitelist. Sometimes, your customer or your SIP phone registered too many times, or 5 times or 6 times, or so frequent, and maybe the system will block your SIP phone. So you can check from here. And sometimes you want to block the certain IP, you just end here and blacklist here, or just let the some IP to come in. So you can also end here. It's blocked by the SSH. Of course, you can block the SIP. You can set the SIP IP and so on, and IP and so on. It's quite easy and quite powerful. Okay, I think it's time. Thank you for attending our training. See you next time. And if you have any questions, you can leave message. Our staff will give you the feedback as soon as possible.